Planning Zoning Commission for the City of Granbury will now come to order at 6 p.m. on Monday, May the 8th, 2023, Granbury City Hall, City Council Chambers. Our first order on the business tonight is consent agenda. It's approval of the minutes of the April 10th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Do I have any corrections or additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented, please.
Chair, move to approve.
A motion by Mr. Hafes to approve the minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
No, second.
Second by Mr. Moore. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The first item on the agenda under public hearings is D1, a public hearing. Consider the following request of Carl Greer to final plat a 6.967 acre tract of the Milam County Survey Land Survey. Block 2, Abstract 348 is lots 1 through 3, Block 6 of Sandstone Estates. The property is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Loop 567 and Highway 51. Kira?
Thank you. So this is your location map here on this slide. As stated, the site is located at the northeast corner of Loop 567 and Weatherford Highway. It's zoned light commercial, and the proposal is for 3 commercial lots. And this is the zoning map. The pink, light pink color represents the light commercial zoning. The green nearby shows interim holding, and the purple is the remainder of sandstone development that's single-family residential. And this is just a street view of the corner of the street. Previously, an amended preliminary plat for this phase, these 3 lots, was approved in November of 2022. The application, this is the actual drawing for the final plat. It shows 3 lots on that corner. Lot 3 is to the lower right, and then the other 2 commercial lots front on Weatherford. And the corner lot actually has access drives to both Weatherford as well as the 567. The lot number 3 that I called out there to the bottom right, the applicant has requested a variance not to install the water line. And the city engineer has reviewed that, and in her memo states that it is acceptable provided that it is installed with lot 3, and a note has been affixed to the plat demonstrating that that commitment that the water line will be installed with lot 3 when that lot develops. And this is page 2 of the plat, just all the required language that goes with the plat. The variance request, the city engineer's memorandum, and more of a statement that I just made regarding the variance. The comments and concerns that were addressed by the applicant for this plat, everything has been satisfied. And staff recommends approval of the variance. And these are your voting options. I'll go to the next slide and then go back to this one. And we also recommend approval of the final plat. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Thank you, Kira. I'll open the public hearing, and if the applicant here or the representative, would you like to speak?
We're happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Any questions for the applicant or the applicant's representative? No questions. You're off the hook tonight. All right. Any questions for staff? If not, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion first, please, on the variance requested.
Chair, I'll move the variance be approved as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Hafes to approve the variance as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Class. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The variance carries. Now I'll entertain a motion on the final plat request, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Moore for the final plat as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Overdeer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda tonight is a public hearing for D2. Consider the request of Vicki L. Nivens to replat lots 1A and 1B, Block 61 of the Nut Addition, as lots 1AR of Block 61 of the Nut Addition. The property is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of North Cleveland Street and East Bridge Street. Kira?
Sorry. Again, this is your location map there on the slide. The site is outlined in teal. It's at the southeast corner of Cleburne and Bridge Street. The applicant seeks to combine 2 lots into one. This site already has water service, or a meter, as we commonly refer to it, so it's not constrained by the moratorium that's ongoing. Let's see, we'll go to the zoning map. This is the zoning for the area. The site is zoned R8.4, as are the properties to the northeast and west, and to the south is light commercial. This is the street view of the property, taken from Bridge Street. The plat application, and the plat itself showing the joining of the properties. This is considered a residential replat, and therefore, per state law, staff is required to send notice to those property owners within the plat, the final plat area. In doing so, then we received notification responses, 6 received in support of the proposal, and no opposition. And that's the utility plan that we use to evaluate the proposed plat. Variance, with this request, there were variance requested to not extend the sanitary sewer along Cleburne, and the city engineer reviewed and evaluated that and recommends approval. Again, there are existing services to the property. And the second variance is to not dedicate a 15-foot wide utility easement along Cleburne. There is an existing building within 5 feet of that right-of-way, so there's not enough room for a full 15-foot wide easement. Rather, the proposal will have a 5-foot easement dedicated along that frontage. So the recommendation is for approval on that variance as well. And this is the city engineer's memo. And more details about the variance, I just went over those. And the infrastructure and service delivery impacts are satisfied. The DRC staff committee reviews these when we look at plats to make sure that all the infrastructure and services are provided. And again, as I mentioned, we mailed notice and we did a public newspaper notice because we have a variance associated with this as well. Staff recommends approval of the variance. And those are your voting options. And then we also recommend approval of the replat. Those are your voting options. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Kira. I'll open the public hearing. The applicant, would you like to speak?
Only if someone has any specific questions.
Any commission members have questions of the applicant's representative? Any questions of city staff? If not, I will close the public hearing and entertain a vote first on the 2 variances requested, please.
Chair, I move to approve the 2 variances as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Hafe to approve the 2 variances as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Watson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion to approve the variances is approved. I'll entertain a motion for the replat request, please.
Chair, I move to approve the replat as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Hafe to approve the replat as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Overdeer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is D3. Consider a request of Granbury Hospital Corporation to preliminary plat a 63.862 acre tract of the Jeremiah Campbell Survey, abstract number 122, and the John Howard Survey, abstract number 717, as lots 1 through 4 of the Martin Coleman Edition. The property is addressed as 5601 East Highway 377. Kira?
Thank you. So this is the location map. This site is located there with frontage along Highway 377, and Fall Creek Highway is to the south or the left on the map. The site is outlined in teal. The zoning existing on the site is light commercial, and it is 63 acres in overall size. The applicant is proposing 4 lots, and from that, 1 lot is currently known to be proposed for development of a freestanding clinic or emergency room building. This is the zoning map showing the light commercial development. Of course, along the 377 There are already existing commercial development, and the remainder of the area is either undeveloped or residential. There is some commercial also along Fall Creek Highway. This is a photograph of the site looking towards the east, the preliminary plat application. And the preliminary plat was so big we have to use separate slides to show you the whole thing. But this starts at the west corner along Fall Creek Highway, so that's to the left on this drawing. The lot there at the corner is the one for immediate development, and the other three are to the south of that corner lot and to the east. So 3 lots shown on this slide. Access will be provided in all directions as shown. And then the last lot to the east. And this has all the dedication language and other required language for the plat. There were variances requested for this plat. There was a variance request for both Highway 377 and Fall Creek Highway to not improve those to the city's master plan and the general design criteria. The city engineer has reviewed those and recommends approval of both those variances, finding that the highways are under TxDOT jurisdiction and the variances meet the subdivision ordinance variance findings also. And as noted in the staff report, the proposal meets all of the DRC comments, and I will be going into more of this. But this is your slide showing the infrastructure and service delivery impacts. They can meet it. There are several what I would call clerical revisions that need to be made to the plat prior to the final plat coming before you for consideration. This happens sometimes, and it is not unusual to move forward with a plat that still needs some minor corrections. As an example, we had a residential plat out off of East 377 near Saratoga Boulevard about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, that had a similar situation. So in your staff report, you will see a long list of those remaining outstanding comments. Those will need to be addressed and finalized prior to acceptance of the final plat. There were no comments outstanding for community development. However, this list is from Public Works and Engineering, the traffic impact analysis. I'm just going to summarize these for you. 5-foot utility easement showing between lots 3 and 4, detention basin, commitment to build that and show where the drainage will flow to. Utilities need to be shown on the plans. Again, proposed utility plan needs to meet fire codes. These are things that are relatively easy to accomplish. It's just a matter of the timing on this, and I think that you would realize the importance of this project. Sanitary sewer needs to be installed and a future plan for wastewater service also. Thinking of that, there was an agreement with the city struck because of the moratorium, and so there was an agreement for this particular site regarding the moratorium and sanitary sewer service requirements. More comments regarding drainage and documentation of access drive location, which is related to the traffic impact analysis. Again, the sewer, the OSSF, which is your septic system, may need to be approved by the city, and just some conversing about the need to have a plan and actually determine that it's adequate. Fire hydrants would need to be provided as well, and those are just shown on the utility plan that comes in with the plat, and the other civil engineering drawings show more details. It just proves out that the plat and the way that they're laying out the lots will work. More public works and engineering comments and also fire comments. So not to cause concerns, we wouldn't be in this meeting if we weren't confident that the applicant will come through with their final plat and show all the information as is needed. So regarding the variance on the Highway 377 and Fall Creek not to improve to an urban standard, these are your voting options, and as a reminder, staff does support that variance. And then the preliminary plat staff also is recommending approval, and those are your voting options on that. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Kira. I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant here? Applicant's representative, I think. Is any questions for the applicant? If so, we'll have him come to the podium. Commission members? Kevin? Oh, you good? Okay. All right, so no questions on that. Any questions of staff? Wow, we're a quiet bunch tonight. All right, so then I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion, please, first on the variance requested. I think there were 2 variances requested, is that correct? Or just one, the way it was worded on that page, I'm not sure, but the variances, variance or variances. Kira, is there 2?
So the way it was crafted, there's one for Highway 377 and one
Right.
for Fall Creek Highway.
Okay, so entertain a motion on concerning the 2 variances requested.
Chair, I'll move that the variances be approved as presented.
Have a motion by Mr. Hayes to approve the 2 variances as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Moore. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So now I entertain a motion, please, on the preliminary plat request.
Chair, I move to approve the preliminary plat as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Hayes to approve the preliminary plat as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Class. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is D4. Consider the request of Rodney Farrell for Pacific Use Permit to allow a short-term rental STR residential unhosted in a residential 7,000 R7 zoning district. The property's address is 124 South Travis Street. Kira?
Thank you. So again, this is your location slide. The site is located right there on the map outlined in teal. The site is nearby to single-family residential development as well as short-term rentals. The property to the west is, I want to say it's a type of contractor business. It escapes me exactly the type it may be. But at any point, it's a commercial operation there to the west. And then there's a dentist office just to the west of that parking area. So this short-term rental is for 3 bedrooms and again unhosted. The zoning of the site is R7. That's that dark yellow color shown on your map. The blue is Central Business District, which is generally downtown and areas close to the square. And the pink is business commercial, and that's for office use. And as I stated, the surrounding uses and zoning. I apologize for the quality of this map. We're a little short-handed today, so we'll get back to normal soon. This shows the bed and breakfast and short-term rental uses within 600 feet of the site, outlined in pink. And you can kind of see that teal outline of the subject property right there in the middle of the circle. So that's where a number of those are located. This is the site plan provided by the applicant. The house is the larger structure there, and its parking fronts onto Travis Street. There are 2 parking spaces in front towards the north side or the right on this drawing in a driveway. And the other building is a long-term rental. It's been there for many, many years. It's non-conforming. That driveway fronts over to Bluff, or to the left on that drawing. And there are 2 parking spaces there. So with this 3-bedroom, they're required to have 3 parking spaces associated with the short-term rental, and they do. This is the floor plan, and there are 3 bedrooms in this house. Kitchen, living room, and other purposed room areas are noted on the floor plan. This is a photograph from the Travis Street side of the property. The application. And the SUP criteria as found in the zoning ordinance. The key criteria for your decision making are the use to be harmonious and compatible with the area. It appears that this can be harmonious and compatible. It's the 3rd request for the particular site, and it's generally been under continuous operation. Are the activities associated with the requested use The activities are normally associated with the short-term rental, residential unhosted. The unique nature of the use, is it reasonable? The site is in the HPO, the Historic Preservation Overlay Area, and that's been designated appropriate for the use, not only in the comprehensive plan, but also in our zoning ordinance. Such other measures to secure the public health and welfare. Mention the 3 parking spaces that are required. Those will be provided. They are screened from view, and the property does intend or appear to meet the other criteria that's associated with short-term rental unhosted use. And that's what these slides show, are those additional criteria of that use permit. And it includes also the enforcement provisions regarding the certificate of occupancy, the other permit that's required, and the performance requirements for good performance. So staff did mail out 20 notices for the property, and we published notification in the newspaper. We received 1 letter in opposition and nothing in support of the proposal. Staff is recommending approval with the following conditions: 1-year term, subject to compliance with the site plan and the floor plan. The short-term rental be limited to no more than 3 bedrooms. And then our standard 3 conditions regarding compliance with the zoning ordinance, city code requirements, and the enforcement phrase. And staff, again, is recommending approval. These are your voting options. I'd be happy to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Kira. I'll open the public hearing, and is the applicant here? And if so, would you like to speak?
Yes, I'm here.
Would you come to the podium, please? Thank you, and identify yourself. Thank you.
I'm Rodney Farrell, the owner of the property. I believe we're heading into our 4th year of operation. I'm surprised we got 1 letter with that. We do not allow events or parties. We've never had a complaint from a neighbor or the local police or anything like that, and we just would like to continue on doing business. Does anybody have a question?
Any questions for the applicant? Randy?
Yes, Mr. Farrell, are you the local contact? I see you live in Roanoke.
Yeah, but until the new traffic on 35 and then at Crescent, I could be here in 50 minutes. But yes, we have a contact like 3 doors down.
Okay, for an emergency, et cetera?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay, and then you have local people to maintain the property?
Yes, sir. Hmm.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Any other questions for staff? Thank you, sir. Kira?
Yeah, I think it's been a little while since I reminded you, and the question does come up, but the local contact is part of the permit and not the SUP, so it really shouldn't come into play for your decision making, just as a reminder.
Okay. And the reason they went from 1 year to 3 year is we're back to 1 year is because that's just how we're doing all of them now until we figure out what's happening with state law.
At this point in time.
Okay. All right. So I close the public hearing and entertain a motion on the SUP request, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion by Mr. Moore to approve as presented.
Second.
A second by Mr. Adair, sorry. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is D5. Consider a request of Jim and Penny Gehring for a specific use permit to allow bed and breakfast hosted in a residential 8400 R8.4 zoning district. The property address is 512 North Travis Street. Kira?
Thank you. The site is shown in teal on the map and is surrounded by single-family residential properties. There is also short-term rental nearby and some commercial off towards the east of the site. There's an intervening property between this one and that commercial development. This is a request for bed and breakfast hosted, and there are 3 detached buildings located on the site within which, we call those cottages, but in each individual one of those is a one-bedroom, and I'll show you the floor plans on that here in a second. But they are kind of tucked away on the property there towards the east side or the right side of that teal box. And then the main house is there towards, I think you could identify it as a swimming pool. The main house is next to the swimming pool, and that's where the host or the host resides for this property. This is the zoning map. It shows the R7 zoning in yellow and historic compatibility overlay. There's no improvements requested at this time. They just want to continue their use. It was a continuation of a use that's been there for many years. And again, I apologize about this map. We'll get it back to normal here in a couple weeks. But outlined in blue, that's rather hard to see in the circle within 600 feet. There are a few short-term rentals and bed and breakfasts. And this is their site plan. So I'm going to zoom in on the area where those improvements are. So that's on the next slide. And you can see the house is there on the left side of the site. The dark lines represent parking. They have more than adequate parking for this property. They have 2 designated for the host site for that main building, and 3 parking spaces on the south property line for the cottages. And there's 3 cottages there on the very south corner. And the parking is all screened. There's either vegetation, to the south there's fencing, or buildings. There's something that screens the headlight sweep. So, and these are the floor plans. We just kind of separated them so you could see all 3. Each one is a self-contained room with bedroom and a separate bathroom and a small kitchenette. And they have a small porch at the front door. And these are photographs of this property. The driveway there, you can see the cottages way at the end, if you look far down the photograph. Application and the criteria, as mentioned in the previous application, these are your criteria to base your decision on. Is the use harmonious and compatible? It's existed for several years. It's surrounded by residential and other bed and breakfast uses are nearby. Are the uses proposed normally associated with the requested use? They appear to be, yes. And is the nature of the use reasonable? The site's located in the historic conservation overlay, which is an area planned and zoned for the bed and breakfast. And are other measures available to secure the public health, safety, and general welfare? There's adequate parking, and the parking is screened. It meets the standards for parking. And these are the use permit regulations. Some of this repeats what I've already gone over, and except for the ones that are concerned with adherence to the city code, the safety provisions of our code, as well as the enforcement that's contained in our city code. Public notice was provided to the public through the newspaper, as well as mailing of notice to public notices to the property owners nearby. And we received no responses on this particular one. Staff is recommending approval with a term of 1 year, subject to the site plan as well as the floor plan. 3 bedrooms, and our standard condition on that is to just clarify that those are 1 per each cottage and only in the cottages, and that the home is then for the host. And then the last 3 conditions are standard conditions subjecting the SUP to the zoning ordinance, the city codes, and the enforcement requirements. And staff's recommending approval to those conditions. These are your voting options. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant here? And if so, would you like to speak? Anybody have questions for the applicant? Anybody have questions for staff? And I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion on the SUP request for this item.
Chair, I move to approve as presented.
A motion by Mr. Hayes to approve the SUP as presented by staff. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Watson. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. If there's no further business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.